aren't suitable for children. Air One is committed to community. Closer Look continues with a look at local agencies, events, and issues.
I'm Becky Hansen. My guest today is Rebecca Basich, Library Director of the Malvern Public Library. Welcome to Closer Look, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
I heard that you received a Tier 3 designation, and I know that that's not easy to get. Would you tell us about that recent accreditation renewal, and what does that mean to the library?
Sure. Now, the Tier 3 accreditation is something that our previous director had received for the library about a year prior to my taking of the position here. But maintaining it is just as difficult because every 3 years you have to go through this process through the State Library of Iowa to maintain, and actually they make more standards that you have to adhere to every 3 years, depending on what they decide is appropriate for that particular tier level. For example, with the Tier 3 accreditation level, you have to have a summer reading program at your library, and that is part of what goes toward getting you certified and making sure you get the most funding from the state library. Funding is basically the direct state aid that you receive every year through the state library, and that money is for materials like books, movies, DVDs, CDs, anything that people can come to check out from the library. To give you an idea of how comprehensive the Tier 3 or any of the tier levels are for getting accredited are, you have to basically provide proof that you are ADA. You have to go through the building, measure every nook and cranny to make sure it's handicap accessible. You have to provide information on how every single dollar, every single penny is spent, how many people come in and out of the library, how many books are checked out every year. It's so thorough. There's so much that goes into it. It's pretty insane, actually. It's a lot of stress. And for a small town library like ours, when it's just one person doing all of that, it can be a little more than you expect at first, because I had never gone through that process before. And when I did it last October, I was pretty overwhelmed, but I got through it, and we managed to get our accreditation approved for another 3 years.
And that's the top level is Tier 3?
Yes.
And so what does that mean to the average resident in Malvern?
Well, that just means that our library is able to provide the most services at the highest quality. That is our way of saying we have the most resources and the most services available through our state library in our small town.
And you were recently contacted by the State Library of Iowa about your programs themselves, and
Yes.
they're special. Tell us about those.
Well, initially what happened was I got an email from the State Library of Iowa, and they had taken notice of my comics and cosplay club for the preteens and the teens, and they were really interested in that. And they took notice of my writing as well with my monthly column, and wondered if I would be interested in publishing a blog with them for the State Library website, telling people about the program, about our library. And of course, I said yes. I love to write, and I think it's wonderful that they took notice.
Tell us about those. You said it's
Comics and Cosplay Club. It's basically just a whirlwind idea that I came up with when I first started about 3.5 years ago. At the time, I knew I wanted to revamp our programming, and I knew I wanted to do something for the kids. And I know there's a strong interest in Japanese culture, and that can range from the anime to the language to the cultural, social aspects of Japanese culture. And it kind of grew from that. It started with just doing a couple of movie nights at the library, and we had an excessive amount of people show up. All of them were high schoolers. And it grew from that movie night to becoming opportunities to sit and learn Japanese, to do video game marathons, to do paper craft with origami, and all kinds of interesting things. And a lot of what we did were the kids' ideas. I just asked them what they wanted to do, and they had a lot of ideas, and we just kind of went with it. Today, it's evolved into a lot of movie nights and art contests and things like that.
It sounds like you discovered a niche.
Yeah. And the biggest thing in the beginning, after the movies, was cosplay. Cosplay, if you don't know what that is when you dress up as your favorite character, whether it be from a movie, a cartoon, anything, a book. You create your own costume and you wear it. And we had contests around our cosplay costumes, and we did a lot of fun events. For instance, I can tell you in the first fall that I was here, we had a Godzilla versus Mothra night. And one young girl loved Mothra. She dressed up and made her own Mothra costume. And I wore my Godzilla costume that I made for myself because I grew up loving those old movies. And we did a live choreographed battle with the film in the background in front of the audience. And it was so funny. It was so much fun.
Thanks for tuning in. This is Closer Look, and I'm Becky Hansen, here today with my guest, Rebecca Basich, Library Director of the Malvern Public Library. And we've been talking about all the wonderful things happening here at the library. Rebecca, it sounds to me like you have completely connected with these kids.
Well, I think a lot of it is just that I never really grew up. There's always this part of me that's always going to be this excited kid who loves nerding out.
Would you give us a virtual walk through the library?
Absolutely. When you first come in through our entrance doors, you'll look to your left and see what is now known as the 2006 edition, where all of the main library services and programs take place. On your right side, you'll see the Carnegie Conference Center, which used to be the original library until '06. We primarily rent out the right side of the building for parties, meetings, things of that nature. On the left, where all of our other activities take place, I can give you a quick virtual tour of it. When you first walk in on that left side, you'll see the circulation desk immediately to your left. And beyond that, there is the Little Tykes reading corner where we have all of our Jungle Book characters. That's the theme, is the Jungle Book. You've got all of your kids' books. You've got all of the puppets you can play with of different tropical jungle animals. You've got your little kids' table that you can sit with your children and read or draw or whatever you like. We've got our historical corner in that little side of the building where we have all of our original artifacts for the library, including the original circulation desk. Some of the oldest books in our library sit on a big bookcase over there. Leaving that section of the library, going toward the middle of the building, we have all of our periodicals and our newest books on display that you can check out. And immediately to the right of that, we have all of our, I call it the media center, with all of our CDs, DVDs, music, audiobooks all in one place. Then beyond that, you have all of the fiction and nonfiction all in one big space. You have your teen zone, which is where we have our giant couch with all of the comic books and the manga and the young adult books. We have our television there where we sit and have our movie nights and video game marathons. And then beyond that, as you're walking out toward the doors to leave, you have your tech center with all of our brand new iMacs that people use for all kinds of purposes. So that's the whirlwind tour of the library.
You know, it was really exciting when I first came here today and, was waiting for you to be finished with what you were doing. And you were helping someone in that tech center you just mentioned. And they were looking up, her name was Janet, and wanting to find an obituary from her grandfather. And you actually found it for her.
Yes. We have, through our website, a free service available to anybody, whether you have a library card or not, it doesn't matter. And it is our Malvern Leader Archives, where you can go on there and search any kind of terms or any set of dates you'd like to find anything you're looking for. It's all there, and it's free to access and use however you want.
That's exciting. As a person that does the genealogy for my family, I was so excited for her. She's going to read that and learn something new about her family.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Now, one other thing that I really love about this library is the Carnegie Conference Room. And I don't know that everyone knows the significance of that. Would you explain it?
It used to be the library, like I mentioned earlier, and now it is a gathering space for all kinds of intents and purposes. We use this space for meetings for different groups in town, nonprofits like MABA, and they're well known for their revitalization of downtown Malvern. We have people who come in here to have baby showers. They come in here for their parties, for gender reveals. We have people who come in here to meet with clients, or social workers come in here with their clients. There's so many things that this room gets used for, including some of the library programs, like our movie nights where we have our big projector screen and we can turn off the lights and pop some popcorn. It's really wonderful.
And where did it come from?
The building itself was established it was built in 1915, and then it opened in 1916, and it was founded by Andrew Carnegie, who most of us know as the man who founded most of these libraries throughout the United States back in the day.
And it's exciting that you have one here in Malvern. They're
Yes.
all over the nation.
All over.
So how long have you been with the library? What's your story?
Well, I've been here since September 28th, 2015. I graduated from Buena Vista University in May of 2015. I had an art degree. I had this idea in my head that I wanted to do something within the arts, but I did not know what that would be. And I also had in my head, I don't know if I can find anything within the arts because a lot of people with art degrees end up doing things other than art. And so, with that in mind, I went on my search. And for a few months, I worked at the Glenwood Resource Center as an RTW. Then I got a call from my mother who told me that there was an opening at the Malvern Public Library. And of course, I jumped at the chance because I grew up in what is now the Carnegie Conference Center. That was the library, and that was my haven growing up. And so I walked into the library and I talked with the director. They interviewed me. And for some reason, they were crazy enough to hire me. And I'm here 3.5 years later now. And I've loved every single moment. And growing up, like I said, I was in this library. I was such a quiet kid. I was really into the characters and the books and the movies and everything that took me to my imagination. And so to be here has been really kind of a dream come true.
What's the best part about working at the library?
It's definitely working with the people and seeing how excited they are to be a part of this library and to just be a part of our community. It's really wonderful.
A lot of people see libraries as community centers. Do you?
I see it as that, but I also see it as a little more. Libraries have had to evolve so much to stay relevant and to provide the services that are needed for the community. So while it is a community center, I also see it as an information center. I see it as a resource center. And in a lot of ways, it is a community center. At the heart of it, it is a community center because that, for me, libraries embody what it means to be a community. It is a place where people come, where they feel welcome, they feel safe, and they feel like they're able to have a conversation with you about whatever it is that may be on their mind. And a lot of times people will come in here and tell me that I just needed somebody to talk to today. And that's what the library should be about. It should be a place where people feel like they can come and be themselves and maybe learn something and have fun while they're doing it.
Why do most people come to the library here in Malvern?
Most people come here because they are looking for information. They want to connect, like we saw earlier today, with genealogical research, or they need to type something up for a job interview or a resume, or they need to come in here to do homework after school if they're in high school or grade school. We've had people come in here with their social workers. We've had people come in here for meetings for various purposes. There's so many things that this library gets used for. They need the Wi-Fi because they don't have internet. They want to find a specific book. There's a lot that goes on.
This is Closer Look. I'm Becky Hansen, here with my special guest, Rebecca Basich, Library Director of the Malvern Public Library. You're going to find them online at malvernlibrary.weebly.com. That's malvernlibrary.weebly.com. They're also on Facebook, or you can reach them by phone at 712-624-8554. We've been talking about all of the programs and the facility and just all the things that come to play here at the Malvern Library. Do you also collaborate with the local schools?
Absolutely. In fact, I'll tell you about one of the first projects we collaborated on. When I first started here back in 2015, I knew I wanted to do some outreach to our local schools and figure out how we could work with the teachers and the kids to bring them into the library. Well, when I came up with my idea for a Charles Dickens night for Christmas, I thought, wouldn't it be neat if we self-published a book for the library, including the kids' own Christmas-related poems or stories or anything of that nature that they'd like to share? And so I contacted the high school and the grade school, and I was able to talk with the teachers there, and they were on board for that. And we have 2 editions of self-published books about Christmas. And that was the first time we really kind of dived in and started working together. And I thought that was really wonderful. And what we ended up doing with those books was sharing them at the parties with the community. And the kids were able to come up and read if they felt comfortable with that.
What else is new at the library?
Oh, goodness. There's so many things. We started getting the advertising out for our summer reading program, and that's a big draw every summer. We had a lady come in and say that she wants to start having a classical piano night in the library where we listen to live music and perhaps have coffee. And there's a organization called Malverns Worldwide, whom I've recently established a connection with from Malvern, England. And they'd like to basically have us receive one of their sprigs of their mulberry tree in commemoration of our friendship and plant it here in Malvern. There's no shortage of activities with our programs. We have everything every week at a certain time. We have our book club, our RPG club, no shortage of things to do.
Rebecca, we've talked a little bit about the annual events that you have, but I think we could dig in a little bit deeper on the summer reading program.
Sure thing. So the summer reading program is something that is through the State Library of Iowa. And as I mentioned earlier, that's something that Tier 3 accredited libraries are expected to do to maintain their accreditation. Well, I think it's one of the most fun things that we look forward to every year. Every year they give libraries in the state of Iowa a theme. The theme this year was a universe of stories. And beyond that, they give you free reign. You can do whatever you want with that. And I thought, wouldn't it be neat if we did something to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing and make it about outer space? With that, I decided, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a week-long program, and we're going to have a couple of hours each night to do a couple of things. It's for all ages, and we're going to have all of the different age groups come together and share memories related to their experiences with outer space, whether they were present for the Apollo 11 moon landing and were a part of that, or if there's, say, a younger kid who went stargazing one night and it just, rocked their world. There are so many things that can be used in that, and it's going to be a giant gathering where we just share and discuss ideas for what we could create for a story. And people can either share a real memory in their story, or they can come up with something completely fictional. And that way people feel like they have total creative, freedom. And basically the culmination of all of these activities and workshops will be on the final night of the week. We will get together and have a reenactment of the 1969 anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing. We'll be making astronaut food. People will be invited to wear their 60s best in their wardrobe, if they'd like. We'll be watching the original CBS broadcast of the moon landing and just have a good time. And it's all about having fun. It's about learning, but it's about having fun.
The imaginations are going to fly on that one. I can just see it.
They will fly.
One of the other seasonal events that I think is exciting is the Charles Dickens around Christmas.
Yes. So that is another event that we've collaborated with our local schools with. We have the local music students come with their teacher to carol for us, and we do live caroling. We also have a couple of young people who like to play the piano, and so they perform for us. But the outline of that whole night is I create these caroling books that I hand out to everybody to read and sing from. And I design them in the style of Dickens. I put in the original lithograph prints from the original edition of the first Christmas Carol and do the old English font. And those are collectibles. They can keep those as little souvenirs. We get together, we share our favorite Christmas memories, and then that's when the kids come in and do their music. And then we have our book that we self-publish every year with all of the kids writing. And some of the adults like to throw a thing in or two as well. And people stand up if they feel comfortable and read from that. And it just becomes this really intimate and really wonderful Christmassy kind of experience where everybody shares, and a few drops of tears come down from a few of the older people's eyes, but the kids are so happy and excited. And it's just really wonderful. We have our figgy pudding made by the Formhals family. We did that last year, and they made it the traditional way with steaming a dumpling. And I had never tried it before, but it was wonderful. We had all of our eggnog, and I went to Aldi and I bought all the German imported chocolate and cookies to make it feel more Victorian, of course. At the end of the night, we just hang out, and if people want to dress up in Victorian style clothing, they're more than welcome to. I always like to do that. That's my favorite part, is dressing up, of course. And that's basically the whole summary of that event. And that takes place at the very end of the day of the community's Festival of Trees. So there's always a lot of people in town that come over, and they're leaving the festival, and want something to do to end their day. And that's really the perfect way to end the day.
It just is a wonderful, warm, Christmassy idea.
I love Christmas.
Mm-hmm. There is so much going on at the library, and I know that something as wonderful as this place doesn't happen without funding. Where does your funding come from?
It comes from several different things. Primarily, we receive a city budget since we are a public library. And the long story made short is property taxes are what pay for our budget. Anything that extends beyond our budget, which is programming costs, is covered by the Friends of the Library. The Friends of the Library cover a shortfall on our phone and internet costs, but they also fund a lot of our bigger programs like the Dickens Night and the Summer Reading Program. And that's always so wonderful for them to do that. And they also help to put on some of the programs at our library. In terms of grant money, we do receive grant money from the Southwest Iowa Community Foundation. That was how we got our new iMac computer center here in the library. And they also funded our new water fountain that we have with the bottle filling station. So we receive money from several different sources. Primarily is the city budget.
And everything is free at the library?
Absolutely. That's something people don't realize. A lot of people will come up to me or call and say, our library card's free, or can I come to this program if if I'm not a member? And I say, of course you can. It's open to everyone, all ages. Please come. The more the merrier. It's really about the people who make this library what it is. And we want more people to be here and to celebrate and to share and learn and have all of the fun that they can while they're learning.
And do you ever need volunteers?
Oh, absolutely. Volunteers help with so many things. We have our garden plot in the front entrance area that needs to be taken care of. We have need for extra hands with our book shelving. We need help with our programs that we put on in the library through the Friends of the Malvern Public Library. We're always looking for new friends. And if anybody ever comes and participates in these programs and gets excited and loves it, I highly encourage any of you to join and just be a part of the fun.
What will we find on the website?
The website is a big collection of all of the many services. It's our calendar page that's got all of our events on there. It's got several different resources you can log into and use, whether you've got a card or not, including our Malvern Leader archives, the Brain Fuse platform, which is available for people who need live coaching for their resume building and their job interviews. We have our Learning Express platform for people who need help with their homework. It's a free tutoring service. We have our Bridges program, which is all ebooks that you can borrow for free if you have you do have to have a card for that, but there's no cost associated with the rental of the ebooks. And there's a plethora of things on there. We have our YouTube channel you can access through our website where you have all of our commercials we've done together with our kids. We have our Library Monthly that I publish every month talking about the programs we have and what's happening in our library. We have all of our calendars. There's a lot there.
And tell us again that website address.
It is malvernlibrary.weebly.com.
Rebecca, our time together today has gone by so quickly, and we've covered a lot of material here. It's been exciting. Before we close, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Well, I'd like to firstly thank all of you, and especially you, Becky, for having me and for allowing me to talk about the library, because I love talking about the library. I could probably sit here all day and talk about it. I'd like to say to everybody who's listening, you are so welcome to come down and get to know us and just see what's happening. And we have a very beautiful facility here, and there's plenty of space. I would highly encourage everyone who's listening to this to sign up in the library for our summer reading program this year. If you love history, if you love outer space, or just getting together and having a good time, and come on down.
I'd like to thank my guest, Rebecca Basich, Library Director of the Malvern Public Library. For more information on the Malvern Public Library, you can also email us at closerlook@air1.com. That's closerlook@AIR1.com. For Closer Look, I'm Becky Hansen.
This has been Air One Closer Look. Find us online at air1.com.